This is Congressman Pat Meehan from Pennsylvania's 7th Congressional District, and I want to welcome you to another Ask Pat Web video. And I'd like to thank those of you who've taken the time to contact me through Facebook or Twitter or my e-newsletter and my website. I want to make sure that you aren't afraid to reach out to us through the website. I appreciate hearing from all of you, and I encourage you to continue contacting me when you have questions, concerns, or comments. So let's get started. First, Rick Murray asked through Facebook, how long before the government gets out of my way so I can build my business? Well, that's a great question, Rick, and I'm very concerned about the government standing in the way of business growth and job creation. And in fact, as I travel around the district talking with people, one of the most common things I hear about is burdensome government regulations standing in the way of people doing business. Now, in my role in the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, it's my job to ask questions, and we've been doing that throughout the various hearings held this year. And now I'm asking job creators as well in the 7th District to describe how government impacts their business. I believe taxpayers deserve a government that understands its impact on job creators before it regulates, creating a more efficient and effective government. And I want to encourage you to visit my website and complete an American Job Creators form. Now, Congress is also working on several pieces of legislation to make it easier for business growth and job creation. Earlier this year, a repeal of the onerous 1099 filing requirement was signed into law. And I joined a bipartisan majority in both the House and the Senate in voting for this bill. It was a major victory for small businesses in our region. And at a time when we should be making it easier to create jobs, to promote growth, to invest in our economy, costly and burdensome mandates do just the opposite. And I can assure you that I remain committed to supporting policies that support job creation and economic growth in our community. I intend to do all that I can to ensure we make it easier for businesses to grow and create jobs, resulting in a thriving economy here in the 7th District. Let me tell you specifically some of the things that we've been working on as I identified in our work on the Oversight and Government Committee. I had the opportunity to have the director of the EPA in where I asked questions specifically about overregulation. Now, I don't know what kind of a business it is that you have, but there are some 7,000 people in our district whose employment's related to the work that's being done at the refineries in the lower end of the district. EPA regulations, which are about to be promulgated, are going to have an effect, potentially, in causing millions and millions of dollars to have to be invested into certain kinds of things, which are going to have a real questionable, the value of those is somewhat questionable. And the point that I asked the administrator was, at what point in time do you take into consideration the impact of the regulation that you have made on the jobs at that facility? Now, this related to a water cooling system that was going to return water to the Delaware River. The answer was an ambiguous one. There wasn't a clear signal from the director, and this is part of the problem. Thousands of jobs on the line and no consideration in those regulations. So this is one and another example of the kinds of things we're trying to do to save jobs, to create opportunities for employment, and to keep people working in the good paying jobs that we have. Now, Katie from Radnor asked, could you explain in clear terms what the big differences are between Obama's plan and the GOP's plan for Medicare? I'm glad you asked because there's a lot of misinformation out there about Medicare right now. The fact is that Medicare is in trouble. Projections from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office confirm that Medicare, if left unchanged, will fail to meet obligations to its seniors by 2021. That's just 10 years away. And already many doctors are limiting Medicare patients they accept. And that's why it's so important that we act now and take long overdue steps to strengthen Medicare. Letting Medicare go broke is not an option. And one of the key things that I want to talk about, and that I talk about specifically, is the relationship that the physicians have with their patients. I'm very concerned about the ability that patients will have to be able to keep that doctor-patient relationship. And I'm concerned about the continuing assault on physicians that seem to be part of the plans that have been put forward. Now, the budget plan that I support will protect and strengthen Medicare. It's got guaranteed health coverage for seniors. And the proposed changes to Medicare will only affect those 54 and younger. Let me make sure that I reiterate that. Those who 55 and over, if you like the Medicare you have, it will not change. There's been a lot of demagoguery and misinformation about that fact. That's a key point. It will not change for you. Those who receive personalized Medicare benefits rightly deserve them. You've asked about the president's plan. Now, neither the president nor the House or Senate Democrats have put forward a plan to save Medicare. The health care law passed last year by the previous Congress made serious changes to Medicare, including taking over $500 billion from Medicare that they're going to spend on implementing the law. Let me say that again. They're going to take out $500 billion from Medicare. Now, where's that going to come from? Under this law, starting next year, a board of 15 unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats will then begin to make determinations regarding benefits and cuts for seniors. I'm working to repeal this because I want to ensure that seniors and their doctors continue to have control over how healthcare decisions are made, and that's where control begins. This board, the Independent Payment Advisory Board, again, it will be unelected bureaucrats picked by the president who will be making the kinds of fundamental decisions. And one of the critical places that decisions will be made, if they aren't able to reach controls on the costs, and it's invariably under the current plan, it will be there. Those decisions by that Independent Payment Advisory Board, one of the critical places, in fact, one of the real only places that they can go, because by law they're precluded from making changes with respect to certain kinds of coverage, is they're going to cut the reimbursements even further to doctors. Now, the impact of that is going to be that more and more physicians will simply stop taking Medicare altogether. What are you going to do if your physician is one of those who pulls out? And that's the concern that I have. In fact, if it goes forward as projected, a doctor's going to get paid more for treating a Medicaid patient than a Medicare patient. These are the kinds of concerns that are already in the bill. These are the things that we're fighting to make sure that we work to see changed. But this debate, to me, is not about Republicans or Democrats. Saving Medicare is more important than partisan politics. What we need to do is work together to be able to strengthen this so it's there for those who are counting on it now, but it's also going to be there for the next generation. Now, Sherry from Newtown Square asked, gas prices are way too high. What are you doing to bring those down? Well, I agree with you, Sherry. Gas prices are too high. Now, in fact, I visited a gas station in Springfield recently and talked with folks about the rising cost of gas and the comprehensive approach that I support to help bring those costs down. Congress has been working on a number of legislative efforts to bring down the price of gas. I recently voted in support of legislation expanding American energy production. But that's only one part of addressing this problem. I support a comprehensive approach that includes finding more alternative sources of energy, putting an end to government policies that are driving up the gas prices. Additionally, I'm a co-sponsor of a bill to reduce America's dependence on foreign oil by incentivizing the natural gas vehicle market. Natural gas is a cleaner, cheaper, more abundant alternative to foreign oil. This is what I've been sponsored is called the Nat Gas Act, and it's got bipartisan support in Congress. Now, one of the critical things of what we continue to do is the most tremendous wealth transfer in American history. We are spending oil dollars that we are sending over to the Middle East. oftentimes to countries who do not have America's best interest in mind. Simultaneously, we're sitting right now in Pennsylvania on tremendous deposits of natural gas. This is the Marcellus Shale, and we have an opportunity and a responsibility to do it appropriately. But we have an opportunity here to develop that natural gas. It'll be a tremendous boon to Pennsylvania, but it also can serve as an alternative to be able to drive vehicles. Now, the natural gas would be ideal for big trucks, fleets. In the reality, the automobile market, the cars, they're more likely to end up being driven by batteries, as I understand it, as I talk to those who are on the cutting edge of the technologies. But big things like buses and trucks, in fact, take one garbage truck off the course, and drive that on natural gas for a year. It's the equivalent of taking 300 automobiles off the road when you talk about the greenhouse gases. This tremendous opportunity for us in Pennsylvania and for the nation to make a switch to a readily available American source of energy. I'll continue to work with my colleagues to help develop a comprehensive approach to energy independence and a cleaner, brighter future. I want to thank you for taking the time to share your questions with me. I'm Congressman Patrick Meehan, and it's an honor to serve you in the United States Congress.